Hello everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day today. So in today's video, I wanted to do another review, and this time it's of Orchestral Tools' updated orchestral string runs. And this is a product that's been around for a while now. It's had a couple of updates here and there, but the most recent one introduced NKS support for native instrument stuff, and it features the new capsule interface, so it's in line with all the other Orchestral Tools stuff. So yeah, let's just dive right into the review and get some impressions and kind of do a walkthrough as well. So, this is what the library looks like on the left side here. So it has the linked file, so you can add it to the library tabs. Once you register to native access, you have the multi-single articulations just like in the other OT libraries. So let's start with the single ones. And it's a very compact list: whole ensemble, violins, violas, and cello basses. So we'll start with the whole ensemble, and you get two patches, sustains and staccato, just the typical bread and butter articulations you need. And the purpose of these is really just to enable better blending with these runs if you need them. So, for example. The sound is relatively dry, so it fades away quite quickly. Just a quick note: this orchestral string runs library and the symphonic sphere library were not recorded at the Taltic stage. It's slightly drier, so that means the reverb tail will fade off a little bit quicker. Let's hear the whole ensemble staccato. So again, it features the same kind of short, snappy sound that you get. Next, we have let's go to the violins folder. I wanted to open up some of the figures first to kind of show what they sound like. So these are just a couple of examples. Let's hear the violin figure 16th note down. So these are constant repetitions, so it sounds like this. Right? And the way it's basically mapped out is according to each key is mapped to its own key. So for example, if you play C, it's going to do the descending run in C major. Now if I press the D, it's going to play it in D major. And so on and so forth. So, right? Cool part is you can play multiple runs at once. Just be careful though, if you are doing multiple ones at once, you'll want to make sure the runs have the same chord tones in it. So for example, if you play a B flat major run descending, then you might not want to do it with the C major descending run at the same time, because in the C major run you'll have the B natural, that second note there, and then the B flat clashes against that B natural, so it might not sound as good. Just a quick note, let's hear the triplets big figure. So just really cool, really nice sound. If I had to compare it to the Berlin string sound, I would say that this is a little less, it's a little more rustic. It's a little more in your face. I feel the Berlin string sound is has a little more polish, and of course it's more wet in general because it's recorded at Teldix. But this sound is more in your face, and it's very Hollywoodish sounding. It's very cinematic in tone. Okay, so now we have the violin runs builder, and this is kind of like the main feature of the library. So let's kind of see what this sounds like. Okay, so I was basically playing two notes together separated by a third, and then it just triggered this run that was pre-recorded before that. And so you have all these different runs here. Let me explain these key switches really quickly. So on the bottom here, you have these green key switches, and these are basically the key of your run. So you can see these blue notes switching accordingly. So if I press an F, for example, now it only allows me to play the notes of F major. So on my keyboard, right? I don't have any access to the B flat or G sharp or F sharp because those notes are not in F major. So again, if I press A major now, then I only have access to the notes of A major. So it's a good way to ensure that you don't accidentally press the wrong note. So they took care of that for us. And then the red part basically switches between these different types of runs. So as Hendrik kind of walked through in his original video, you could basically play a couple of these runs and then switch to another run if you wanted to. So it could sound something like that. And then you could pretty much like end the phrase with your staccato or something. You know, you get the point. So it's I mean, there's lots of libraries that have playable runs, right? But libraries that actually pre-record runs are going to sound the most authentic just because they are real recorded performances and not a faked run with, you know, quick legato transitions. Speaking of which, actually, this library does come with those runs transitions, playable runs, but we'll get to that in just a second. So let's hear some short measured tremolos. Now, those of you who have watched my videos on Cinematic Studio Strings, you know I love the measured tremolos in general. So I'm really glad that this one comes with it too. So. Anyway, you get the idea. Then we have some trills. So actually I should be going back out here so you can see what I'm doing. Whole tone to half tone trills. So it has both whole tone and half tone trills. As long as the two notes you're playing are whole tone or half tone or half step apart, then it will access those trills, and those sound lovely as well. So this is kind of like the birth of their Trills Orchestrator thing. They really brought it forth in Symphonic Sphere. And then let's hear the runs transition. So. Right, turn it up just a touch here. All right, let me really quickly run over the Violins and Viola's basic runs first, and then I'll come back to this runs transitions. So in this, basically, the Violins and Violas come with basic runs, right? So it has all these different runs that are recorded. So I just pulled up one example of the 2 octaves going down. Really reminds me of the Cinestrings runs library. It does a very similar thing. Now, the reason I wanted to go back to this is I wanted to compare this patch to the Berlin strings, violins, ostinato, legato. So let's just compare those. So let's hear the runs transitions again, and then we'll go to the legato, ostinato, and Berlin strings and see what that sounds like. So let's just hear this. What's really great about this is you can hear the little bit of smearing there and the slight detunes along the way that really make for a convincing run. And one kind of small detail you'll note is that this fast legato transition is basically recorded up to a perfect fifth. But now if I try to go more than a perfect fifth, so I'm basically going from G to E flat, I don't get that legato transition. So what I'm thinking is that they did record these legato transitions up to a fifth, and then after that, you know, the script will basically release the first note when you play the second note, but it doesn't have that recorded transition. So there's a bit of a cut there before it goes to that second note. So if you're using this patch, just be sure to keep your runs within a fifth at any one time. So I like interval-wise, I mean. Now let's hear this ostinato R from Berlin strings. I realize it's not all loaded in, but you get the idea. time, the Berlin strings. The Berlin strings definitely sound slightly more clinical, a little more clean, a little more precise. I might actually go with the Violins and Violas runs transitions patch. It's thicker, it has more instruments playing, so you get that slightly more smeared sound. And to my ears, it's slightly more realistic. So I might end up using this one from now on. So let's take this out. Let's continue on here. Okay, and then we also had the, let's go back to it actually. Violins and Violas. The basic runs spiccato version. So spiccato runs here. Let's hear what this sounds like. Very similar to the previous patch, except each note is spiccato on the way down. So let's hear what this sounds like a little bit slower. So you can hear each note has that spiccato attack, articulation. So it's a very, very short note. Okay. Moving on. Now, the celli and basses have a runs builder as well. Now, I would definitely use this a lot less just because celli and basses generally don't do as much run stuff as the violins and violas do. And so let's just start from the first figure. Okay, let's hear the triplets up. Okay, and I forgot to mention there's a really cool slider here that lets you go between the different keys. Different modes. Different modes. So you can see here that on the blue keyboard section, they let you play different notes according to your scale type, which is really nice. So in the original 2.0 update, they added in these new scale types and recorded new content. And in the bottom here, you still have your key selection, and you also have the articulation key switches. Now, what you'll notice is that a number of these actually don't have material recorded. So there's no 16th figures, there's no 16th up. You do have triplets figure up, triplet figure 1. We don't have figure 2, I believe, right? So there's nothing there, and none for these as well. So you only have the articulations for several of these options. But to be honest, you probably won't need the ones you're missing anyway, unless you're writing some really unique music. All right, we're almost there. Let's go to the runs transitions now. Now this one sounds really good. You might notice me playing some intervals of more than a fifth here, and in this patch we actually don't have that same problem as we did in the violins runs transitions. So I can play it as wide of an interval as I want, and it's going to have that that transition. I don't think it actually has a legato transition there, but the scripting is smoother that when you play one note to another note that's greater than a fifth, it just transfers you to that note without it sounding abrupt. Okay, and then finally we have the violins multi-figure. So if we just go out here, let's go to a multi-articulations. I'll just show you a quick example. I just went into the violins, pulled in violins multi-figures, and this is what this sounds like. We've kind of already covered this stuff. Basically, the multi-patches combine a bunch of your options into one patch, so you can just access these different ones with key switches instead of having to load up individual patches every single time. So in general, orchestral string runs is still a really, really good option for your general string run usage. You'll have lots of libraries out there today that give you these playable runs patches, but nothing really gets more convincing than either a real player or samples that have pre-recorded phrases in them. So this one comes with a myriad of them, right? You have octaves, you have 2 octaves, you have triplets, you have 16th notes, all these different things that that give you a lot of options in your music. And so you'll probably find what you're looking for in this case from this library. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have any questions. There's, I didn't want to go too long here, so there's a bunch of options that I didn't cover, like there's room mics, different mic positions, and you can also lock to the beat, of course, and different stuff here. But yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please leave them down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next video, I will see you next time. So have a good one, guys. Bye.